Pat,
Yes.
is everything okay?
Yeah, we haven't started late before. I fully acknowledge that.
Well, buddy, I wasn't. How's the tone and everything?
Oh, that's spectacular.
That's all that matters, buddy.
I think.
You
I
were,
don't
you
know.
were you were running a little late getting a coffee.
Wow, that was subtle. Nicely
Cheers
done.
to you, buddy. Cheers
Yeah.
to you.
Yes.
So, Pat, what a morning we're having. Didn't anticipate this.
No, that's partly why I was late getting my deadbeat son to school and getting home and getting everything ready and getting back here. So,
And
I
Shawn
love
was
it.
very nervous. Shawn was very nervous. I was watching my phone all morning to see if a text of certain employees weren't coming in today due to the snow.
Yeah.
But it's all good to go, buddy. We're all set. The
Yeah.
show goes on.
We sidestepped a bit of storm last night. Hey, so before we start, actually I do know. I think it's important we acknowledge there's a lot of more intense, serious stuff going on in the world at this point. So I felt a little bit conflicted. I didn't really talk to you about this yesterday, but coming on here and talking about, oh my gosh, days in the market and pricing, all this stuff, when there's clearly more truly profoundly upsetting stuff going on in the world, right? So I think it's fair to say we're here talking about the real estate market, completely cognizant of the fact that we do it because we're here every last Friday of every month anyway, and so we're going to keep doing that, but we're not doing it completely detached from the realities of what's going on out there. I just wanted to...
No, for sure. And I think we can agree the world is a wild place right now. Since the onset of COVID, everything that's going on, world economies, this housing affordability crisis, obviously what's going on in Ukraine, all these factors make the world a little bit of a wild place for sure.
Uncertainty is a tough animal to wrestle with, right? And so before we do these, sometimes we talk, most of the time we don't. That's sort of our unofficial policy. But there's always like do we have stuff to talk about this month? Because sometimes you don't want to get into a broken record, right? Where we come on here and say, there's not enough listings. Oh my gosh, delayed offers, lock boxes. But this month has produced another month of pretty weird, not weird, but different from the last month, different from like November, December, January, and February were quite distinctly different months. I think you can say, yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Give me your nutshell of what you see for February.
Well, for February, definitely an incredible listing increase for sure from what we've seen in the past. You know, I certainly wasn't anticipating this many listings for the month of February, but there is. I certainly thought once we saw these listings coming out, it might cause a calm or somewhat of a balancing. Like, you know, the magic number seemed to be $699 for a North End bungalow, selling anywhere between $800,000 and $900,000. And then I saw a whole bunch of North End bungalows get listed, and I thought, oh, this is for sure. We're going to start seeing some 700 sales, different things like that. But it just keeps getting crazier and crazier, Pat. I got to tell you, I'm going to be listing North End bungalows at $799 now, because I think the new threshold will be $900 to $950. People are paying those prices. It's wild.
Yeah, and when you're on the sidelines listening to what you just said, if I wasn't in the real estate industry and I was just popping in, I'd say, who the hell are these guys, and are they insane? But if you go on to Matrix, all you realtors, and you pull Carlton, Scott Street, wherever, Bunting over to the pond, to Lakeshore Road, detached 1,000 to 1,200 square foot, that is where things are sitting. And whether it's original, and we've seen a few original homes get into the eights, and others that were nice, not crazy updated, but nicely updated, get not much more.
No.
Turn me down a bit, Shawn. got a bit of a splashback going on.
How's that now?
I don't know. I haven't talked yet, but I think, yeah, that's good. So,
Okay.
so that's, so you're right. And this always goes back, and not to be a broken record on this, but way back 5-6 years ago, somebody in my office listed something at $399, didn't get any activity on it that they were hoping to get here. So they ended up, sorry, pardon me, I got that backwards. They were hoping to get here, so they listed here. They weren't getting it, reduced it to $399, and then they actually sold for here. So there is a mind game that goes on, and we're damned if we do, damned if we don't sometimes. So the $799 thing will be interesting because there's always the narrative, people see $799 and they assume you want $960 all of a sudden, and then they back off.
Yeah, so I mean, that is, I think one of the hugest things going on right now is the confusion in the market. It is absolutely mind-boggling confusing for agents, for buyers, for sellers. This listed low strategy, it seems to still be working very well, but it also is, it's almost like you have to list the house ultra low to get the big number. And I caution people that works well now, because I think you have a lot of buyers still fired up. There's so let's just say, Pat, 20% of the buyers are hot and heavy in the market. They've been dropping offers, losing out. You're going to have those guys who are going to fire it up and want to win a house. But I think as this inventory comes out, which, to be honest, I thought it would happen this month already, but it just seems to be getting crazier and crazier. I mean, like, when Via Del Monte gets listed for $779, Pat, and sells for $1,020,000, that just goes. You can list North End houses at $799. Every single North End property is selling 800 plus. Silverdale just got 942, setting another benchmark. High Court listed at $799, got $900,000. Basically, if you have a bungalow, a side split with side entrance, and you hit the nail on the head, Pat, doesn't make a difference about the condition, whether you're updated or you're not. You're going to be pretty much $1 million, because you can put a basement apartment in there, and that's what everyone wants.
Well, $1 million's a bit high, no?
Well, it is. It is. But if this maintains the way it's going right this second, they're Highfield selling at $1 million. There is those outlier higher $1 million sales.
Sure.
And so, that people are getting that now. I've had people where, it is so confusing. So I got a story for everyone, and there's a lot of agents listing here. So I hate to say it, it's kind of a pitch on one of my listings, but I want to use it as a scenario for you guys. Okay.
Okay. You got 35 seconds. Go. Okay.
35 seconds. So 125 Scott Street, everybody, listed at $699.9, end unit freehold townhouse. Okay. $699.9. 48-hour irrevocable. We will take an offer anytime. Okay? Talk to the seller. I could probably list it at $599 and get him $725, just like you kind of said, right? But he's old school, said, no, I just want to be here to protect it. So I think the general public's thinking, whoa, this guy wants $750, $800,000.
Yeah.
It's not the case. So if anyone has a first-time home buyer out there,
that's the challenge, though, right? Is there's so many conversations that go on around a listing and its pricing and its positioning in the market. When those conversations happen that we don't have the opportunity to interact with, and you lose people. You don't even know you had them or not, right? So let's go back a step, because a lot of what we just talked about was St. Catharines. And then, so St. Catharines had the worst January in the last 15 years for a number of listings and number of sales. Meanwhile, nice. That's good. So the lowest number of new listings for the month of January, the lowest number of sales for the month of January, going back 15 years, plus or minus. Highest sale price ever, and the highest monthly increase. January 2022 was up by 17% over December. So that's the high. I actually pulled it this morning to make sure I was correct. In the last 11 years, that was the highest monthly increase in St. Catharines. And then February is going to have the highest number of new listings for February, and probably going to have the highest number of sales for a month of February, going back again 10, 15 years. Juxtapose that against Niagara Falls, which is the number 2 market in Niagara as far as the number of homes sold. 8 months consecutive of horrendous new listing inventory. If you add up the last 8 months in Niagara Falls for the number of new listings, so going back to July last year, 50% lower than what's normal for those 8 months combined. But month to month, it's been consistently terrible. So January was the worst for new listings in Niagara Falls. February is probably going to be the worst February of February's. Same thing. So you got the number one city in Niagara having the highest number of new listings in February, and the number two city having the lowest number of new listings in the month of February.
And just so you know, Pat, we're saying number one city in population, correct?
No,
there is no number one city in all
sold.
the Niagara region. The Niagara region is the best.
No, number of homes sold in a given year. So St. Catharines has the highest sale volume, Niagara Falls is second. So highest in St. Catharines and lowest in Niagara Falls. So why Niagara Falls is doing that? Any Niagara Falls centric agents on here want to chime in and give your 3 cents? I'd love to hear it. But that being said, Niagara Falls, same as St. Catharines, posted the highest average sale price in history, and they're all sort of swimming in that same waters here for February as well.
So there's lots of other things happening though, Pat.
Go on.
Lots of other things happening. We can agree these prices are life-changing for people. If you bought your house 7 years ago for $350,000 in the North End, and now it's worth $800,000, $900,000, there's a lot of people that it is really, 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 really life-changing for them. The challenge is this, though. Niagara is drastically changing. Our Niagara contingent of, like, say, Pat, you or myself, who've lived here our whole life, is slowly disappearing. Everyone is starting to leave, and that is going to be the natural progression over the next 10 to 20 years. That, because once you're a downsizer, you sell your North End bungalow, where do you go? You got nothing. You're going, but the thing is, people will plan a little earlier, and at 65, 70, sell their house, grab their equity, and go up north, go out west, go out east, and that will be the new reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the downsizer can still downsize in this market. It depends what their concept of downsizing is, right? But
price point, everything. The North End bungalow person would have a hard time.
Yeah. Unless
they're going to rent it.
Yeah.
That's the option.
Or condo apartment, they can still put some money in their jeans, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't go detached to condo apartment either. They often transition to townhomes. We had actually somebody I asked on Instagram yesterday, anything people want us to talk about on today's Insta Live, and one person asked about townhomes. And I didn't get any more info than that, and I forgot to follow up with them to ask. But if I look at townhomes, going back to the Catharines, those sort of condo conversions, the 50 Lakeshore, 151 Linwell, 242 Lakeports, all those kind of guys, they've been interesting to watch, because I always thought that first-time home buyer who's been knocked out of detached and semi is going to transition to there, and so all of a sudden we've seen that bump up. So that the last couple months of 2021, the average sale price was 458. Yeah, 458. First 2 months of this year, the average price of those townhomes I mentioned, even Whedon, 286 Cushman has.
One sec, sorry, I got it.
Yeah. I'll talk to you guys. So the average sale price bumped up 125,000 in the span of 2 months for those townhomes. So
I at the door, standing out there in the freezing cold. I used to look at it for 5 minutes. I had to help them.
That's a sad story. So those townhomes I just mentioned, including the 286 Cushman, which we saw a few doozy sales in there, they're up 125 grand from Christmas time to now.
Well, also too, let's talk about Elma.
Where?
Elma, $620,000 and $633,000 for those townhouses.
Yeah.
Wild. But then again, 125 Scott Street, just around the corner, end unit townhouse,
that's
freehold, no condo fees. $699. Bring your butts.
Let's go back to the investor side, because we can all agree that, and we had an informal poll last time we did this, I think, and I've been asking agents along the way, we did do it last time we were. What percentage of our buying market and if you wanted to make it St. Catharines specific, that's fine, are investors, people buying. And I talked to a guy the other day, we had a listing in the North End, and his buyer had just bought 5 detached houses. And he was tapping out on ours because he said, you know what, he's probably not able to do it. So that's 5 detached houses that in, you know, pre-2020, when this intense investor market really wasn't here, that's 5 detached houses that are purchased by people who want to just move in and live, right? And that's just one anecdote, like sold by Peter, tons of investors, a huge number of investors. So I mentioned this to you the other day, or yesterday, I guess. St. Catharines, in February, 170 sales, 103 of those sales were out of Niagara buyer brokerages. So that's 61% of all of February in St. Catharines was out of market buyer brokerages. So we were talking before, people were 15, 20, 25, 30% investor buyers. If you got 61% of the entire month of February out of market brokerages, how many of those out of market brokerages are driving down here to show Niagara people good old fashioned?
No one.
Right. Maybe 2% of those. So you could make an argument that 50% or more of the sales in February were out of market buyers. So how many of those out of market buyers were moving in, and how many of them were looking just for investment? I don't know.
Massive amount for
More,
investment.
yeah, more than 30, 40%.
I found that last year, like January and February, majority of those sales were kind of the first time home buyers picking up some of the lower priced houses, and also to investors, right? And then I found, come the nice weather, the investors kind of leave and enjoy life and enjoy the weather, and they kind of are all hot to trot on it right now. But you know, the thing that I get a lot is, the question I'm getting a lot from people I'm talking to, Shawn, is now the time to sell. Mm-hmm. And do I think I think for a lot of people now is the time to sell. Depends on your life position, you know.
It always does, yeah.
You know, if you're 65 and you want some great money, now could be your time to sell. You know, you're going to get more money than you ever would have thought of in your life before. You know, like Pat, when we started real estate, that 1-2% a year. If you know, if Wayne Quirk would have told me, Shawn, don't worry, get into real estate, and in 20 years you're going to be selling these North End bungalows for $1 million, I would have been like, no, that's crazy. Well, here we are today, and it's reality.
Yeah. Yeah, and just on your 1 to 2% thing, I just quickly looked here, going back like 3-4 years. Like even last year, the highest monthly price increase last year was 6% in January. But we had -6%, 0%, -2%, -3%. So what just happened is what a bunch of you guys just said. It's investor based, and what the big question for me that's rattling around in my brain is, what happens when all these investors pack up, get on the bus, and head out, or do they? Like at some point the prices don't make sense. At some point the carrying costs don't make sense. At some point the big picture of it, and they move, they go, hey, wait, what about that town? And poof, they're gone. But then
I'll tell you this, here's exactly what will happen.
Go on.
This isn't gonna stop, okay? So what will happen is this is not gonna stop. What will happen is this. Okay, so the $1 million house on Via Del Monte, market softens, prices come down. Guess what? If prices come, what's happening right now is these prices are pushing so many people out of the market.
Yeah.
It'll alleviate some of the demand, especially mostly those who are, I find investors don't really have a specific budget. They could just, they pay. But, you know, those young couples struggling for a house, they're only approved up to a certain amount. They don't have equity in another property they can pull out to give them that extra $200,000 or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, these $1 million properties selling at this, well, if the market softens and the prices come down a bit, then it opens the range up for a whole bunch of buyers in an affordability thing. And guess what? They'll just push the market back up again.
Yeah, but you still got like qualifications, something like 4 to 4.5 times income. So if you're coming into this without equity, you got to be pulling down $250,000 a year to and then have the down payment, all the other bits and pieces to that, right?
It's come to the point that, you basically need a house to buy another house now.
Right. So Emily Berry saying, I feel investors are slowing down this week. Emily, I'm looking for your insight on why Niagara Falls has had 8 consecutive months of horrendous new listing inventory. Why are people there seemingly frozen when St. Catharines, the opposite just happened, which St. Catharines through 2020 has monthly, on a monthly basis, been somewhat conservative. Our sellers have been reluctant to jump in, and something changed in February this year that the St. Catharines crew said, sure, let's do it. Versus Niagara Falls are still sort of sitting there frozen in place, historically anyway.
I have a kind of response to that, somewhat a theory per se.
I love theories.
Okay. The theory is this, is Pat, I felt that Niagara Falls got a little hotter with the investment market prior to St. Catharines. I think there was a lot of investors jumping into Niagara Falls as an investment opportunity before they jumped into St. Catharines. So I think kind of the investors kind of saturated what they could of Niagara Falls, and then they realized, well, there's nothing for sale in Niagara Falls, really. Yeah. Oh, but St. Catharines has houses. Let's buy in St. Catharines. People, and then all of a sudden, guess what, Pat? St. Catharines could have low inventory. Welland can surge, and they'll just go to Welland and buy the houses.
You know, the average price in Welland is year to date, $729,000, and they were the only city that didn't get over 600 in 2021. So I think you're right, because Niagara Falls was sitting around, average sale price was sitting around $50,000 higher than St. Catharines for quite a while.
Exactly.
Even now, I think year to date, Niagara Falls is in the 815 range or something like that. Yeah. So St. Catharines is kicked up. So now the gap's about 20, 30 grand on average, right? That's not a great piece of data, but it is what it is. So yeah, so then they turn their bus and they head to Welland, or they head wherever. Like even Fort Erie is 750 year to date as well. So
yeah, and just for anyone looking though, Fort Erie is, if you got buyers, there's still opportunities there. The offers are softer. I mean, there is competition and stuff, but you're not seeing this $100,000-$200,000 over the asking price. To be honest with you, I partly think that's because the locals are getting pushed to those kind of markets, and they're not, we know locals don't like to throw the big numbers, really. So they have opportunities there. I got a quick question for my good buddy Pat, though.
Yeah.
Pat, why do you think we have this? Because I anticipated, again, like last year, I anticipated inventory. We talked about this all February to prepare people to list it low, to start listing a little higher, because we knew March would bring inventory. I felt the same would happen this year. March would bring inventory. Well, whoa, February brought far substantially more inventory than I ever thought. Why? Why, Pat? Why is there so much inventory?
For St. Catharines?
Yep.
That's a great question. And I think perhaps there's a few variables. I think we were relatively reluctant compared to other markets, especially the bigger markets. It's hard, like looking at Lincoln and Fonthill and those markets, because they trade so few houses on an annual basis comparatively. You can't put a lot of weight into their data month to month, right? But when you look at St. Catharines comparative to Niagara Falls is second highest number of homes sold a year, Welland's third. St. Catharines was pretty weak for a long time. So perhaps eventually people say, okay, now we got to do this. Like, I think you got people that delayed through COVID, that for 2 years, we're going to move 2 years ago, and they were going to move last year. And then maybe perhaps now they say, look, the prices are bonkers. We got to get out of here. I can't handle these stairs anymore. And realtors are calling them and saying, look, we don't know what's going to happen next, but all we know is the market just had the greatest monthly increase in history. Am I freezing, or is it you?
You were freezing a little bit.
Was I?
Yeah.
Off Wi-Fi. Am I back?
Yep, there you are.
Am I okay?
Yep.
I just went off Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you're good.
So I don't know what I said, if you caught what I was saying, but I think going back over the last 2 years, a lot of St. Catharines was undersupplied, and eventually there's people that have to move, right? And like the one we just did, they were in their house for 42 years, and so
yes,
at some point, and they're also looking at pricing and saying, holy cow, that was the biggest my realtor just called me and told me that that was the biggest month in the history of St. Catharines real estate. Maybe we do it now. Joyce, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. I personally think that I think a lot of this inventory is the memo. The memo was spread a little early this year, and people are hearing about these crazy prices, and they want to take advantage. I also agree with you. Like, if we kind of look at what has been listed, is a lot of dated homes, that older demographic. And you're right. I think COVID kind of scared them from kind of selling.
Yeah.
I think some of them were hesitant of selling to go to that seniors home or anything like that because of the COVID. But now I also think that these prices are so crazy that the kids are saying, Mom, Dad, like, you're doing it. We're taking advantage of this because I think some people think this might be the ceiling. Or it's just a heck of a lot of money that they could take advantage of right now, because the prices are at, it's wild. There was a stat out that was saying that part of our inventory shortage was because of the baby boomers who have a lot of the properties available for sale were not selling because of COVID, and they were going to stay in their houses longer. Again, I think that's shifting a little bit just due to these crazy prices. Again, this is absolutely life changing for people. This market, like, I mean, it's not fun in certain aspects, but when you can share in that moment with someone who just got so much money for their house, you can't help but grab them, hug them, and do the happy dance with them, and because it's a feel-good moment. That's the little silver lining out of all of this.
Yeah, because there is so many polarizing emotions, right? Because we also deal with clients we see that are frustrated, and they literally feel like they've hit a wall. And then the next day you meet with people who are elated and they can't believe what just happened. So we're like, oh my God, do I feel joy? Do I feel guilt? Do I feel this? Do I feel that? And I'm coming up on 20 years in this business. I haven't, usually you feel consistent emotions, right? You have a market that's super slow and you just deal with that and you know how to work with that. Or you have a market that's super active and you know how to deal with that. But to have a market that where there's so, like, when we have competing offers, when there's 3 offers, that's different. You got 2 people that didn't get it. But when you have consistently where there's 13, then you got 12 people, and that compounding effect of disappointment just sort of spreads. And every realtor in here, I'm sure, could raise their hand and say, share a bunch of stories they've had that have been truly difficult or frustrating or whatever. So it's hard. People think we're loving this market, but I'm not sure. The jury's out on that, I guess.
That's the thing. I run into people, Shawn, you must be loving this real estate market. Nope. No, I'm not. But the prices of the houses. Yeah, the prices of the houses. What happens if I have a buyer? The buyer, then they get the whole, you explain the story, and then it dawns on them. Yeah, no, maybe it's not as fun as I thought it would be. Yeah. I think I got to put this out there just because I like to kind of look at the future. And when I look at the future, I'm talking the next month of what's going to happen. I had some very, well, Pat, we talked about it. I had some sleepless nights a few weekends ago with these hold offer strategies. So there is places now that are doing the hold offers that aren't hitting offers. If you look at St. Catharines right now, I think there's 21 houses between $599 to $699. Those 21 houses aren't all going to scorch the numbers that maybe people are anticipating and stuff like that. Yeah. So again, I caution people for seller expectations. And I only say this because I was responsible for it. I got pumped up. I was feeding off this market. We felt at that moment when this happened, the market was going, I felt we were like guaranteed everyone else was getting it. Well, it didn't happen. So I had to put my tail between my legs and have some tough conversations. Well, it prepared me now. I have the exact conversation. I have the plan. I know what I'm doing. But it's just, guys, watch out. As this inventory increases, there's spots, there's holes, there's opportunity for buyers. There's some sellers will still scorch. but you know, that's where you got to prepare your clients. And the conversations I'm having with a lot of my sellers who are more the local contingent, who've lived here for quite a while, they're gravitating more to the, you know what, let's price my house higher, 48-hour irrevocable. I want to be in charge, you know. So I'm gonna try it out and start pushing the north end.
You could almost,
I got a bungalow coming. I think I'm 779ing it or 799ing it, and see what happens.
so
You know.
but you almost want to put in the realtor copy. Hey, realtors, no, my client is not expecting 118% of asking.
Oh, Pat, I'm doing that today.
Are you going to write that?
Scott, I'm going to put, guys, this property is open for business. Seller's expectation is not above asking price. So
See?
show it today and let's dance.
Yeah.
You
See,
know, we start putting that stuff in there, people will have a chuckle, but not only that, that's where a good agent's going to look and say, holy Christ, I'm going to get my buyer in there. Let's do a deal. And you can save them some money, you know, like.
So I had an agent come and ask me yesterday about how to do this on Matrix, and I showed him, because I don't personally, I haven't really done it yet, but I know people are starting to, is, you know, you can search active listings and you can filter by days on market. And so filtering, you know, 7 to 20 days on the market, the ones that missed offers, or 10 to 20 days, 10 to 25 days, whatever. And then checking the history on them and seeing what the setup is, you know, did they get offers, did they not get offers, that sort of thing. And then going after those. And that's which I thought was kind of clever of them to do. And as things start to change and inventory comes on and people don't hit the mark, then those opportunities start to show up. And then that's when you have a market that the teeter-totter isn't like this, it starts to do this, right?
So quick question again for you, Pat.
Yeah.
So I really liked actually what you talked about Niagara Falls being kind of, you know what, they've just not had a heck of a lot of inventory over 8 months. And I agree with that. Like if, you know, I've had someone looking for a North End property for 3 years and it just keeps, North End properties in Niagara Falls just don't come up. But the question is this, we've talked about St. Catharines having quite a surge of inventory. Is this our pre-spring surge already? Have people come to the table a little early to relinquish their homes? Are we going to come March, April? Obviously, yes, there still will be inventory, but are we going to have, you know, exponential amounts of inventory? I think some people who were thinking of selling March, April, may have listed a little early to kind of take advantage of where things are at now. Well,
I just looking now, like historically, there's never been a decline in new listings from February to March. And there's only been a few years where there's been a decline from March to April. We all know 2020 that happened, and then some. 2021, actually, the highest number of new listings in the whole year was in March of last year. So whether we see that happen again this year, we could, right? And this is, we talked about this last time, all the data, the monthly data that our board puts out for February, March, April, and May of this year, looking at last year, you might as well throw it out the window, because last year set records like we'd never seen. So this year, we could have an extremely historically strong year and still be down 15% in sales because last year was so powerful.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that right there is again, like I was kind of talking about last year, how January and February was still very low, and then you and I were discussing March inventory is going to come. Yeah. So we just got to recap what happened in March. It became very challenging for us as agents because that was when people the hold offers, people were not getting offers and stuff like that. So if we have this much inventory in February, and if March comes out with just as much and if not more inventory, that will create a change and a shift for sure. But here's the honest truth. Everything flows off inventory. Demand is constant pretty much. It's our inventory levels that change the game. If there's tons of inventory, it balances. But as soon as that inventory goes away again, get ready, prepare. There will be another surge. Yeah,
when you look, and I'm glad you said that, because when you go back, I got back to 12 years here, the inventory in Niagara has ranged between 11,000 and 12,500 every year. Doesn't matter what market happened. And it's the sales that went from 6,500 to 10,000 last year. So inventory is moving this much, sales is moving this much. So that's when things change. So yeah, last February, March, and April were enormous. So far, this year is resembling it a little bit. When I look at the number of sales, January not, but February is resembling a little bit. And the trend for inventory is resembling past strong markets, I should say, 2017 included. So.
Yeah, and I think in particularly this year, no matter what, even with the balancing potentially coming, I do, like I said, I just prepare expectations because we know if inventory comes, it shakes up the game. It makes it very, very weird. And that's where we kind of screw ourselves by doing this super listed low, selling high strategy, because once it kind of balances what's market value, it's not the listed low price, but it's probably not the sale price. Yeah. And then the web comes back around. Summer, everyone's on holidays, and houses sit around a little bit. Best time to buy. But then again, guess what, Pat? November and December come. Oh, inventory lights again. We go back into January and February. No houses for sale. Oh, another surge. And I think these surges are just going to push locals to. And next surge comes. That's it. I'm out. This is it. I'm out. We're good. I'm going wherever. I'm buying a place out east. I'm buying a condo in Florida, and I'm done.
But I think so. A few quick things. One is all that uncertainty we've talked about, and the cycles, and the what ifs and whatever. I think that contributes to low inventory because unless somebody has a articulate, informed realtor standing in front of them, they're getting their information from all the wrong sources, and they freeze in place.
Propaganda, I call it the propaganda.
One is they see the list prices, and they don't know the sale prices, so they see that place over there that they'd move to if they could, but they think, holy crap, our price is only here, and in reality the price is here because they're only seeing list prices, right? Cole Curtis said there's a lot of people waiting for a cool down, and the second that happens, the people waiting will create that heat again. I agree to a point. I think a huge driver of what we're seeing in some areas of our market is investor fed, and will they just sustain a level? As long as the price, like St. Catharines is almost to the dollar, the same in February as it was in January for average sale price. Ironically, the Niagara region, the average sale price in November, December was 750 and 754 grand. The average sale price in January and February is 850 and 854, somewhere in that range. Numbers, huh? So that unpredictability thing is an enormous piece. And going back to somebody asked about the situation. I don't even like using the word situation, but it's a situation in Ukraine and how that impacts. And I think the biggest piece, and when we go back to the 2008 market, when the financial crisis happened, Jim's not here because I don't let him come in on Fridays until 10:30. But he was a realtor when 9/11 happened, and when significant macro global events happen. The biggest thing it impacts is just people's feeling in their gut, right?
It's uncertainty.
Right.
What it comes down to. It's uncertainty.
We've been riding uncertainty for 2 years, and we've had some of our biggest markets, which is so counterintuitive, some of our biggest market segments during COVID, during lockdowns, when everybody's in place and everything else. We had some of our biggest pushes in the market. Aside, take March and April of 2020 aside. That was when we were first reacting to it. But then once things got going, we had some of our biggest markets we've had during lockdowns. That's not to say I think the Ukraine situation is similar to that, and we're all going to, but I think the biggest impact it's going to have is overall confidence, right? What's going to happen?
I agree.
What's going to happen to gas?
Hesitant, especially investors, especially watching the stock markets and stuff like that. They always shift and change when there's wars. Sometimes wars are started to start economies. We think about back with the Iraq war and everything like that with the States. I mean, at the end of the day, we were in recession, and it's really, and I don't want to get into politics. I'm not a politician, and I have my own opinions and stuff like that, but it's a crazy world we're living in, and the fact that what's going on right now is even happening, we shouldn't be in these positions. We had lots of other previous things happen to hopefully get this. But anyways, I agree this war, and I actually told my team about 3 weeks ago, I said, if stuff kind of happens with Ukraine and Russia does go in there, it could potentially shake things up. We have a provincial election coming too this year. That always shakes things up. That will always cause a little calming in the market. I find it always about a month before the election, things just calm down. People just want to wait and see what happens. But at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference who gets into power. It's like they're still going to buy a house or they're still going to sell their house. They're just waiting and stuff. But I agree. There's lots of crazy things going on. Does our market seem realistic? Can it keep on going? I don't know. I thought after 2017 we were kind of like this is crazy and this is. But it just keeps on going and going.
Find me a person that predicted January prices anyway, right? We all knew something was going to happen because things couldn't stay suppressed indefinitely. Eventually, they were going to break. But what happened was caught, I think, even the best of us off guard to some extent.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I got to tell you, I agree with Cole. Like, if prices soften a little bit, all it does is makes it affordable for buyers again. Like, that's what happens is you push buyers out of the market and then they hit these super heightened highs. And then all of a sudden it kind of balances in the middle, opens it up again for some buyers to get in and summer, no multiple offers, gobbles up that inventory again. We're back to square one. No houses for sale. The new year starts. It seems like January and February are, I'm going to start calling them surge months. Every January and February we've had for the past, well, this is our third one through the kind of COVID thing. Surge months. Surge months.
Yeah, the January aside, but yeah, this February is going to be, well, it's going to tie with 2011. So that's a long time to go without with new listings being suppressed or not being great. So I don't know. I think we've covered everything, haven't we? Any other questions?
Yeah, for sure. Comments? Again, just agents who are watching, or even if there's a seller who's contemplating selling their home, just guys, be cautious out there. It is changing. Please watch out for your sellers, yourselves, to create not having any problems. Prepare expectations. Definitely prepare expectations. It is shifting, and I'm providing advice because I just went through it, and you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble if you're just upfront, tell people kind of the way things are going, and then if they do hit that big number, high fives and handshakes, you can congratulate them. They hit the lottery. Yeah. But I do know as these inventory things come, I can already see little holes, little pockets, little weird oddities kind of going on that will carry on into March. And like you said, Pat, if we do get an additional surge of listings for March, it will absolutely change the game.
Very last point, I forgot to mention this earlier. I thought it was as far as the pricing goes and the big picture of Niagara, what's going on. When you look over the last 5 years, the number of homes over $1 million and their proportional amount in the overall marketplace, i.e., what percentage of all sales in this year were over $1 million. It's the percentage is almost doubled every year for 5 years. So it went from 1% of the market to 2% of the market to 5% to 10%. So last year, 11% of the market was over $1 million. 2020 it was 5%. The year before was 2 point something. Year to date, 24% of all sales in Niagara are over $1 million.
Oh, and wait.
I know.
Because we're not even in the hot zone for our high-end listings. I don't know if you recall, but last year it wasn't until end of April into summer. Yeah. Those $899 Richelieu house with the pool was selling for 1 point anything with the pool. Like our high-end market is, because we're dealing with, but that market is people who actually want to move here and live in their houses. Right. They aren't trained. They don't like to move during winter. They have to sell their house in Burlington, Oakville. They sell their house in Burlington, Oakville. Then they're that hot buyer and they want the house. They don't want to, so they're coming. So the high-end market is still, it's got its time coming. And one thing I've noticed too, Pat, just for everyone out there too, I've been really watching the showings. So, especially, I think the biggest indicator kind of right now to watch is the North End bungalow, because they're just there's been a lot of them listed, and they're all hitting certain numbers. So let's just say end of January, listed a North End bungalow. I had over 100 showings.
Yeah.
Okay. Now listing a North End bungalow, 30, 35 showings.
Yeah.
Still getting 4, 5, 6 offers, still hitting huge numbers. But that is showing there is starting to be a little bit of a kind of thing. But the nice thing is that there's been so many houses that have sold over $800,000 in the North End. It's pretty safe to say, guys, a house in the North End is worth $800,000 to $900,000.
That's where the benchmark is. Yeah.
Yeah, so, for sure.
Oakville and Burlington really cooled too this past week. Just to throw it out there, what's a 1,200 square foot bungalow on a normal sized lot in Burlington going for these days?
$1.5 million for the land.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know. It's wild. I gotta tell you though, it's becoming, there's becoming a disparity, man. Like pretty much anything, like Stony Creek is the same price as North End St. Catharines now. Mm. Pretty much. Like it's going to become anything outside of.
Was it you that was talking about like Garrison Village and Niagara Lake, and how there used to be a big separation in value between like Garrison and a detached in other areas of St. Catharines, for example.
Yeah, no, that was me. Yes.
And how that gap is crunched.
Oh,
right?
100%. Yeah, I was saying, hey, you know what, Niagara Lake, you know, it used to be our high-end market. Like, you know, when I first started real estate, houses were selling big bucks, and that same house in St. Catharines. But now people are not going to Niagara Lake because they want to be in the easy QEW access. Yeah. And not only that, it's just, you can get bigger houses. It's not as far. It's more family friendly too. But it's wild.
G-Town. I'm guessing. See the Reynolds Regiers is chiming in. Hello, friends. All right, let's wrap this up. I got to do a few things. Then we're going to see each other for episode 2 of our podcast. Where's your mug, Shawnee? Maybe you want to show the. Nice. So if you haven't checked it out yet, we have a podcast. We're going to record another one after this. It'll be out on Spotify and Apple and other places. I'm not sure where else they put it. It's your Niagara Real Estate Podcast. Today's is going to be backstory, so a bit of a realtor behind the scenes. We're gonna discuss. It's going to be fun.
The evolutions of our careers and the evolution of real estate since our careers.
Yeah. It's going to be, it'll be good. So yeah, tune into that. Otherwise, thanks so much, guys. It's always appreciated when so many people tune in and chat. It's great. All right,
ciao.
Stay safe.
Enjoy the day. Enjoy the weekend.
All right, all the best. See ya.